Hey, young world. This is Ryan.
And this is Carlos.
And thank you for coming back. We're doing another episode. Uh, it's Thursday. So happy Thursday to everybody.
Happy Thursday, everyone. And for those of you who may be wondering why our voices are so clear, uh, we major now, ladies and gentlemen. Meaning we got microphones. Ba, ba, ba.
Finally invested into a decent mic.
A decent mic. And now
Half
we
decent.
yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there eventually, you know. But yeah, now you can hear all of our sexy voices through your favorite podcast streaming service and YouTube, and no complaints. Unless you guys are talking about video, which we will get into. Patience, and then yeah, microphone baby. We are live.
I hope I sound like Barry White.
That's what you want to come across as when you're recording?
Of course. You kidding me? Barry White's got the sexiest voice out.
Bro,
Hands
Barry
down.
White does not need to sound like that every damn time. I assure you he doesn't. Can you imagine him working fast food and then you go to McDonald's like, hello, is anyone there? Welcome to
I
McDonald's. Can I get your order? And just a reminder that today's special is a Big Mac combo with Coca-Cola on the side. Yeah.
If Barry White took my order at a fast food place, I would strip butt naked.
There is no need for that. What the hell? The dude
Barry White.
Even...
Come on,
dude, I don't even think they get benefits there, bro. What are you doing? They don't get the poor guy would probably need the therapy, and then you just what do you need to do? What do you need to do that for?
All right, Carlos, man, stop playing, man. Okay, so what are we talking about this week? What are we talking about this week?
This week is the title of the episode is The Golden Age Babysitter. Now, as vague as that title is, we're going to explain to you. We are going to give you the answer because that's what the blank is. We give out the hints and we also figure out the damn answers. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the Golden Age Babysitter is dun 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 90s television.
Well done, man. You deserve applause for that one. That's for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But yes, the 90s television is the Golden Age Babysitter, as we call it. Only because, well, when we grew up in the 90s, all we had is TV. There was no TikToks, no awkward cringe videos online, no social media in general. All we had is television and, video games. And so we're just going to delve in as to what is our favorite pastimes in the 90s involving TV and video games and what we watched and growing up in the 90s essentially.
I was just thinking about cable in general, how like probably a majority of households and a majority of kids probably don't even know what cable is.
No, probably not.
Like, you know what I mean? Like now with like Netflix and like kids with iPads,
kids
with social media.
Yeah, because everything is internet right now. Like, yeah. I mean, like essentially, like even my TV is streaming from the internet. I don't necessarily have cable in my house. It's streaming.
But remember, like waking up on Saturdays, so you just got out of school on Friday, did whatever you needed to do on the Friday night or whatever.
Yeah.
Wake up real early Saturday.
Yep.
And then like go right to like Fox.
Oh yeah.
Channel 28.
Yeah.
When I was back in Newmarket, Channel 28 was like the Fox Cartoons morning. So like that was considered my babysitter, like my Saturday morning babysitter kind of thing. That's how I look at it now.
Yeah. I mean, growing up when I was a kid, Fox Kids, YTV, those are my channels right there. Growing up and, waking up the early Saturday mornings and then having those lineup of shows, whether they're good or bad, you stick through it because like, it's good. It's all the entertainment you had during those hours. There was nothing really much else on during the early mornings on Saturdays. All they had was Saturday morning cartoons, or they had the replays of the Much Music Countdowns. Those are usually on Fridays. Friday afternoons, I remember those. But yeah, or even like 106 in Parks during the week. Those those were the the things that I was mainly doing on set, during the week as a kid. It was mainly once I got home from school during the week, It was 106 in Park, or whatever was on Much Music. And then if there was a new episode of Dragon Ball Z that week, I would tune into that. Or yeah, that was something else. What was your schedule like during the week as a kid? Like, what was your
To be
schedule like?
perfectly honest, I think like we used to live real close to the school. I think that was one of the main things my mom's always looked out for when she was buying a house. It was
Mm-hmm.
always make sure that they're walkable distance to the school. So like it would be like a 10-minute walk, maybe not even 10 minutes. It'd be like a couple-minute walk to the house, go home, hit up the family channel, which is a huge thing. So
Yes,
like
yes.
we went to, like Carl said in one of our earlier episodes, we started high school in 2006. So like early 2000s was a major part of like, our mid-teens or like early teens. So family channel, YTV, like you said earlier, and like BT, just watching music
Mm-hmm.
videos the whole time,
Yes,
much music.
yes, yes,
I don't think I was really into the whole MTV era where they were playing like music videos on MTV. I think it was more like dating shows and Pimp My Ride, I think was on there or
That
something
was a
like
good
that.
one. That was a good
Some
one. But I
some
wasn't.
stuff like that.
Yeah, but I wasn't really into Pimp My Ride myself. Well, no, I'm lying. I loved Pimp My Ride, but we just didn't have. We didn't really get MTV growing up until like very later, and we weren't really into it. It was just mainly repeats from what I remember. But our main source of like for music videos was like Much Music and the BET, where the videos were not as raunchy and they were hella censored. I can't even begin, dude. Like videos back then, if they were released now, it would be wild. Like they're trying, like I mean, right now the videos are trying to top it. But I mean, like, dude, if Back That Ass Up came out this year, would be the like that would be my ultimate get to this day. That's one of my favorite tracks like ever. Okay, like you can't. That is the ultimate twerk theme. That is the ultimate. That made me appreciate twerking to a whole extent because of that song. Coming from the 99 into the 2000s. Shout out to Juvenile.
I think anything from BET at night was just like outrageous in comparison.
That was the whole point.
Yeah,
You know.
it was dope though.
Oh, BET at night. Are you kidding? That was the porn for some of us because we didn't have internet. All we had was BET at night for some of us. But yeah, like I mean, obviously you wouldn't bring it to school the next day and talk about it. Like, what did you see was on? No, but it was mainly on. We mainly watched the cartoons during the after the early afternoons. I can tell you that I didn't really learn how did you learn about like the hood stuff and all that? Was that from like TV or did you learn it from friends at school?
No, that was definitely music, man. I think
You think
that
so?
definitely music. Growing up on like Drew Hill and
Oh boy.
like I
Oh
said
boy.
earlier, like I'm a huge R&B fan, so like Boyz II Men, and then even
Yeah.
listen to like the poppy stuff, like more like the Diddy
Yeah.
at that time and Jagged Edge,
Yeah.
112, like that kind of stuff. That was more how I started getting into it, and then obviously hood movies, man. Like
Yeah. And
being like
they're normally all the same. They always begin with a little freeze frame things like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" And then it freezes, and then it's like crazy, right? That's not how it really started. It started off before, and it gets into this really thing where it's honest beginnings, and then it turns really hood, where the homeboy was trying to get into school, but then he went to that one party where he either snorted cocaine for the first time, or he shot somebody because he looked at his girl, or that person looked at his girl wrong, and then it just went from all downhill from there. And that was BET movies. If you heard this summary before, my friends have watched every single BET movie right now. That is a fact.
Carlos,
Yes,
tell me about a show, man. Tell me about it, like one of your what's a go-to 90s show that you can come back to or like, that
dude,
pops out in your head.
my all-time favorite kid show ever was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Really?
That Oh my God, I was a fanatic when I was a kid. A huge
What?
fanatic. Oh my God.
It was
Oh
dope. I'm not
my
gonna take it
God,
away from the Mighty Morphin Power,
dude.
but it wasn't like,
Dude,
at least to
that
me.
show freaking defined the 90s in such a way. It was just, I watch it now and I cringe a lot because I'm like, the acting is terrible. The effects are awful. But when I was a kid, I didn't really pay attention to that. I just saw six teenagers going to school, living their life fully. But then all of a sudden they get this call while either they're taking a test or they're about to, put on the work with this female that they talking to school for the longest time. And then they get this notification. It's like, hurry up, get out here quick. The world is in danger. We need you. And I'm just like, bro, I'm going to fail this test. Oh, well, the world needs me. It's morphin time. Let's go. And then they go and then they beat the living bejesus out of there. And by the end of the episode, they always seem to get away with it. I don't know how it is. They miss 45 minutes of the test, but they still make it 5 minutes left in time and they still pass the test somehow. I don't know how it is, but that, my friend, was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And you know how I love what else I loved about the Power Rangers? They had like those special segments like of commercials where they tell the kids not to do drugs. They would see a random child with like a ounce of cocaine, just like, hey, I got this from my dad. I'm like, what the hell? Why do you have that from your dad? Why are you bringing this? Why are you bringing this to school? It's like, I don't know. My dad does it. He seems to be cool. I'm like, don't you want to be cool? I guess so. And then some random Power Ranger comes out. It's like, hey, kids, you shouldn't do that stuff. Wow, it's the Red Ranger. And, they're just like, oh, okay, you're right, Red Ranger. We'll never do this stuff. And they throw out 8 pounds of cocaine down the goddamn garbage. And then you have a freaking abusive ass father who's upstairs. I'll just got the whole pissed off, wondering where the hell his cocaine is. That was the Power Rangers to me. Okay, it was great. It always had a message, regardless of how violent and how they decapitate all these monsters they fight. There was always a message of peace and love at the end of every episode. Power Rangers, perfect.
I think like back in the 90s, like a big part of commercials at that point, like you said earlier, just to bring that back, is the whole stay away from drugs.
Yeah.
And having to see those commercials and being like, oh man, it's like, bad to smoke. You're going to go to hell for doing this, like this and
Yeah.
that. Like that was a huge part of the 90s. I don't watch too much television now, so I can't really compare it to what is on right now. But
Right.
I got a little brother that's 12 years old, and I definitely know 100% he's not seeing freaking don't do drug commercials and stuff like that, or
Right.
like maybe on like YouTube, like ads, I would think at the
Which you have the
most.
option to skip, by the way.
Yeah,
So he's probably not watching.
So it's like that kind of stuff's not really embedded as much, I would say, in this. And I could be perfectly wrong or totally wrong in this, but it's probably not as apparent as it was when we were younger, like having to be like, don't do drugs, kids. And then you have your Green Ranger come out and play his flute.
Yeah.
And play this sick ass tune.
These kids are about to shotgun this beer, just staring at the Green Ranger playing a flute, just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man.
You're just like, what the hell is the Green Ranger doing here?
What does the Green Ranger's flute have to do with drugs, man? I'm just trying to have fun here.
But yeah, that was what was it? What was the show for you, Ryan? What was that 90s show for you that really did it for you? That really just signified, you think back, you're like, man, that was the 90s to me.
You know what? I'm not gonna front. I think that there's like tons of shows, and we're definitely gonna get into them like over this meeting or this podcast. But
yeah,
one of the ones I was thinking about recently is actually Hey Arnold.
Ooh, that's a big
and for those who didn't watch Hey Arnold, like Hey Arnold was probably one of the most mysterious, most weird, dark shows for cartoons back in the 90s. I remember growing up to. When I used to think about it, it was like, oh, Football had this and Olga that and Stoop Kid this.
Yeah.
But like recently going back and watching some of that stuff, it was very, very sensitive, very, very dark topics. And I think that I almost took it for granted. Like, I think that was it. So Hey Arnold, shout out to Hey Arnold, and anybody who's listening who hasn't seen it, go back and try to watch all of it. I think it's on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
But definitely Hey Arnold. I think that all of it was great. I think it was dope. What
Well,
do
I
you think
mean,
about Hey Arnold?
oh, I love the show. I think it's just one of the shows that epitomizes the '90s too, as well. It lasted a while too. I think it had its own movie. Definitely one of those great shows on those great cartoon shows. And you mentioned earlier about the darker thing. I think a lot of '90s shows were really there's
Yeah.
a lot of those that were meant for adults, but then they ended up doing it for kids. Like I remember Ren and Stimpy was a Saturday morning cartoon. And
Oh
then
yeah.
yeah, and then eventually it became like a 18 plus cartoon later on. But now it's like, oh wow, that's a vast difference in change there. But yeah, it's just tons of shows too. Even Beavis and Butthead. That was obviously was a more of a teenager too, but I watched it as a kid. I thought it was hilarious. With all the the act, the voices and everything. But yeah, just the '90s were just filled with the shows that really were meant for adults, sort of, but then they like tweaked it just a little bit to do it for kids.
It was
Uh,
almost as if they took a little bit more like risks
Oh
in
yeah,
relation to, portraying certain characters or like talking about certain, like situations. Like just to give an example of a Hey Arnold episode, there was one episode where this guy, I forget his name, but he's like the Vietnamese neighbor. And there's this whole episode about him hating Christmas,
yes, I remember.
and the episode in itself eventually kind of breaks down to him losing his daughter during the Vietnam War, um, and him giving away his daughter. So, and in that case, I don't want to get too into it, but it fully shows like all the different dark sides to war in a kids show. And like watching Hey Arnold, I didn't know that stuff. I was like, man, fuck, I don't know about any of this.
No, bro.
I just thought it was entertaining, whether it was because there was an Asian dude in it or because it just showed a bunch of kids like doing a bunch of random shit,
Yeah.
which was entertaining at the time. But like now that you go back, it's like '90s shows for some reason had that kind of dark side to it. Like writers were taking a little bit more of a risk in comparison to, I don't know. I didn't watch too much of it, but I'm assuming like a SpongeBob.
SpongeBob was definitely that show that was definitely meant for adults, and but or it was not even meant. It was just a really dumb show. It's just a really SpongeBob. Surprising if it's surprising, it's actually a '90s show. Came out in
Yeah, it was
'99.
like late '90s, right?
Yeah,
I think I read that. Yeah.
like a '90s show, and it's still running to this day. So that's just speaks volumes of the impact of the show that show had. But it was just like it just has like really stupid humor in it that made it funny as a kid. But then I look back and I'm like, this is kind of funny. But you can tell like some of the jokes in that show really are meant for adults. Like I can't even think of it. I haven't seen SpongeBob in years, to be honest. But I can tell you that show. I blame that show a lot for some of the stupidity I do in it, for sure. But yeah, like even when you bring up a dark episode, no pun intended, but Are You Afraid of the Dark was
Yeah,
that's a
definitely.
really good show where it basically, for those who haven't seen it, shame on you, and you shouldn't be listening to this podcast. You're too young. But Are You Afraid of the Dark is basically these kids come around this campfire, and they just each of them tell scary stories every week about anything that's on their mind related to their life. So it could be about computers, clowns, or any fear really relating to any topic. I remember one episode where this girl was telling a story of another girl who was diabetic, I think. And then she had to go to the nurse's office, but the nurse was going to give her the wrong needle, and she had a really big fear
Oh
about that.
yeah. Oh my
And
God, that.
and I'm just like, this is terrifying. I'm like, my God. And then, mind you, flu shots was coming up at school that week. And I'm just like, do I need this is like, all right, are you ready for your needle? And that nurse had like a really evil grin. I'm just like, okay, I need my pass. No. Hold on. I need something for this. And I'm trying to figure out like, damn, like I don't know if I should be taking that needle. I've seen a Are You Afraid of the Dark? but yeah, just things like that just really shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps really terrified. We were like the test dummies for all the risks that TV was taking at the time during the 90s, 100%. And do I feel like a test dummy for it? No, because the risks that came with the shows that came on in the 90s really it really showed that TV was more diverse back then. There was not really they weren't really strict as to what was coming on. If the show was bad, then obviously you know, the ratings would prove it. It wouldn't come from Twitter or anything like that. It was just more so shows that really just it really just connected with you from the issues that were going on, because the 90s was like a peak in era for things going on in terms of drugs, violence, you
Yes.
know, AIDS. The AIDS scare was still going on a bit in the 90s, but you know, and even though that you know, it because cartoons were very much popular back then, and the fact that these cartoons that we were watching were tackling these issues that were going on at the time really spoke volumes as the impact that it had on the kids back then. So yeah.
It was almost as if it made us a little bit more mature. I can't My little brother, again, to bring him back into this, is that he's 12 years old. I don't even think that there is a modern day Goosebumps. I don't think that there is a modern day Are You Afraid of the Dark, a Freaky
Mhm.
Stories.
Yes.
You know, for those who don't know, Freaky Stories is more of like a short on YTV that would just give out like a quick, creepy, out of this world, so out there kind of story in relation to like a darkness to a show. And I think that for us, hearing about those spooky stories and like things like Tales from the Crypt Keeper,
Oh, that's
you know,
another
like
one.
stuff like that, like
Another
they
one.
didn't,
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't really, I don't think they have that nowadays. And I don't know
Uh,
if it's making kids soft. I don't know if soft's the right word, but in this case, they don't have that, I don't think. Because I know my little brother doesn't. He doesn't have a modern day Goosebumps. He doesn't have a modern day Are You Afraid of the Dark? And those things, to be perfectly honest, Are You Afraid of the Dark scared the shit out of me.
oh, yeah.
Like that intro.
That
You're
was
watching that at like 11 o'clock at night.
creepy.
That shit is creepy as hell, man.
I would watch
Holy.
it today and just be like, "Oh my god, how did I get through this as a kid?" Like, yeah, that intro alone is just effing terrifying, unbelievable. But yeah, just even the Goosebumps even creeped me out a little bit. And Tales of the Crypt Keeper, I can't believe you brought that. I forgot
Yeah.
about that one.
Yeah.
That was a creep. Even though it was a cartoon at first, they also had movies which were rated R, and then they
Yeah.
ended up making it a
Like
cartoon for kids.
crazy.
So it's like, what the
We're gonna fuck these kids up, man. I swear.
let's do this. Just like Scarface was a really big success in the theater. How about we turn it into a cartoon for kids for Saturday morning? Oh, sounds great. But yeah, 90s was I mean, because it's just sad that you know, these TV shows are not taking risks like that. Like, not even I think maybe like dramas, like some kid dramas are tackling issues that are going on today, but I don't think these cartoons are. I know how the cartoons usually did tackle issues like drugs, you know, violence and
Yeah.
everything like that. But yeah, it just sucks that you know, these kids, some of these kids are not going to have shows like what how you mentioned Tales of the Crypt to, you know, conquer their fears, to really just, you know, be scared, but at the same time realize at the end of the day, it's just a show. It gave you the nightmares, but you went through it. But you know, and you, like you mentioned earlier, it's possible that it came across as soft, but I don't think. Yeah, I think you know, if kids had that nowadays, it would be a lot more uh, convenient for them, I think, in terms of their motivation to embrace stuff and not be so scared, or be more less fearful. I was just thinking about a random incident. You remember that incident at the school where that kid got a broomstick?
St. Michael's or
Yes,
something
that's it.
Michael's. Yeah.
On Bathurst there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine having a Power Rangers commercial on that? Just like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do this. You're gonna be cool, right? Like, I mean, I guess so.
God, man.
And then
My
the Green Ranger
condolences.
comes.
Oh,
And
my
then the
condolences to that family. God damn.
yeah, that is. I don't even know how to. But But can you imagine like the Green Ranger's going down there, laying his foot, just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, what the hell are you doing? I don't need this. I'm not getting
God.
paid enough to be a Power Ranger for this, man. But how does that even, I couldn't even,
I
that
don't
whole
know.
situation
Yeah,
just,
kids being
oh,
kids.
oh,
Just to give an idea of anyone who doesn't know about that, recently there's a school in Toronto where I guess bullying was a pretty bad issue in relation to what was going on with the kids there. Just to get really quickly through a story, there's a kid getting bullied. They eventually are the bullies put a broom in the kid's backsides. So in that case, that kind of stuff, it is predominant. Not predominant, but it does happen, kind of thing, and which is really fucked up.
yes, very much so.
Very fucked up.
Yeah.
So it's like, who knows what the kids are watching nowadays? I don't know if it has an influence whatsoever on what these kids are. I don't know. I can't say too much about these bullies, but whatever they did, that's fucked up. 100%.
Yeah, bullies are a tad bit different nowadays. They're taking things to the far too extreme. Whatever happened to give me your lunch money, or what are the answers to the tests? Not, I'm gonna take this broomstick and I'm gonna I'm taking that ass, man. It's over. But that's oh boy.
Jokes aside, that's fucked up.
And yet you still laughing. Shame on me.
But to get back into it, you know what show I've actually been watching recently? Smart Guy.
Ooh.
Smart Guy on Family.
All time.
So shout out to Disney Plus, because Disney
Yeah.
Plus happens to have all these gems from that era.
Yeah.
Because I guess like the 90s or the late 90s, early 2000s is probably the gem for the Disney Channel, Family Channel and stuff like that. So Smart Guy, a great family show in relation to learning about morals and ethics and how families work.
Yeah.
And it had a little bit of that hip hop culture, which is great.
Yes. Yeah.
The music in relation to the clothing was wonderful in that.
And the show was just
funny.
funny.
The show was good. It was good. It was a very funny show.
Even that show had a dark tone in it as well.
Yeah, are we talking about the same one as one with
I
the
think
gaming?
the gaming one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Even for a show like stuff like that, I don't think would come out for kids nowadays, because they're trying to avoid it. But the fact that they brought it up in a show, like, to be clear, we're gonna explain this. There is an episode of Smart Guy. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus. You should check it out. It's an episode where TJ, the main character, meets up with a friend, and they end up gaming somewhere, I believe at an arcade, and an adult, a fully grown male, comes up to them and says that, hey, I'm testing out a new game. If you guys want to come by, you should check it out. And they accept his offer. TJ doesn't tell anybody about it, and they end up going to this guy's place. So they test it out a little bit, and then the adult, asked them if they would feel comfortable to take their clothes off while they game. And TJ felt really uncomfortable, but the friend was really down to do it. And so the TJ is like, oh no, we should leave. And TJ comes home, tells the dad that they call the cops. And that's basically the gist of the episode. If I spoiled it for you, come on, grow up. You're not gonna be invested into the show. But yeah, no, that shows episodes like that. You're just like, when you're a kid watching, you're just like, huh, is this really stuff that's really going on? It it makes you worry that as a kid, like, although you're innocent and you don't really pay attention to stuff like that, you should really be wary as to what's going on in the world, to stay away from creeps like that when they come up to you and when you're trying to have a good time at an arcade or like at McDonald's. But yeah, Smart Guy, man.
Yeah.
All time great.
That episode, actually, I watched it the other day and I'm like, man, that should give me the goosebumps.
Crazy, bro.
Like, thinking about, because the internet was making it big during that time. Everyone was starting to get like their dial-up computers, and your mom would tell you to fucking get off the phone, or like get off, or she picks up the phone and you get disconnected or whatever. And then MSN, at that point in time, MSN was real huge. So in that case, Internet safety was like one of those things that I don't know if it's really taught nowadays, in
Yeah.
relation to, what kids are being learned about. But for us, we got to sit there and watch a television show like Smart Guy and learn about, stranger danger
Yeah.
in
But,
relation to it. So, yeah.
going into the 90s show, I think our all-time, I think the show that you and I think bond over the most would probably be Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. My all-time favorite TV show.
Hold on, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Anybody who's not seen The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, please.
Don't subscribe.
Is it on
Don't
Netflix?
subscribe.
I think it's on Netflix.
It's on Crave right now.
Oh, it's on Crave.
In
So it used to be on
Canada.
Netflix.
Yes.
So please,
Yes.
please go watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because The
Yes.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is the epitome
Yep.
of 90s comedy,
Yep.
to the hairstyles,
Yep.
to the music, to the features, to
Yep.
the clothing,
Yes.
to the jokes.
Yes.
It is the perfect 90s show.
With a perfect 90s theme song.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yes. What is your all-time favorite Fresh Prince episode?
That's a hard one, man. Definitely. All of the dope features. Like, I really love the one with Belle Biv DeVoe.
Is that
Belle
your
Biv.
favorite episode?
That's a good one, but it's not my
That's a
favorite.
good one, yeah.
My favorite one's definitely the dad one.
Oh.
Because that one is the most realist episode in the Fresh Prince.
Oh, 100%. I to this day, I'd shed a tear to that.
Like,
episode.
that one touched a different point of like what I would say. Well, there was a couple of different episodes with Fresh Prince. There was the shooting episode where they get robbed. That touches a real sensitive point. But I think that out of all of the episodes, the only one I still shed a tear to this day is that episode, because that touched on something that affects so many different people and so many different families, kind of thing. And, to be able to kind of see how well Will Smith acted, in relation to Carl saying that Will Smith's his favorite actor.
Emmy award winning. The
way that Emmys. The way that he portrayed that position, the way that he acted that out, the way that Uncle Phil held him at the end, that was just the perfect.
Even thinking about it now, I'm getting emotional now.
Yeah, man. 100%.
That episode it was too powerful. Like, especially considering in the Black community, like, fathers, it was a big time. It was a big thing back in the 90s where fathers weren't really there. So it touched like millions of people. Even LeBron James had a Instagram post a few years back. We just like, to this day, because LeBron didn't know his father. And, he would bring it up and you'd just be like, man, to this day, this episode is just, I cry every single time I watch it, because it was just a powerful, really telling episode where this kid from Philly who's so, chill and laid back and, so confident with ladies, who's a jokester, is just like going through something like as not having a father who lives through that every single day. And it's just that it really tells you that behind the scenes that everybody has their problems, and but it's a matter of considering showing that was only one episode, and considering the jokes that he goes through for the rest of the episodes, it only tells you that excuse me, that I have to ruin this little powerful moment just by being extra. That's Fresh Prince for you. That basically that going through all that dark thing in your life, which is a big factor in his, you can always focus on the good and the jokes, right? Because that's really all that matters. What makes you and what makes others smile. You shouldn't delve into having problems outside of that.
100%. Carlos,
Ryan,
what's your favorite Fresh Prince episode?
Hands down the Mad Dog episode. I
scoops.
I die of laughter every single time. I think it's that one episode I laughed the hardest from, and that 2 scoops thing is like easily the funniest scene I've ever seen in television. Well, what I'm talking about is basically Will and Carlton go on a date with these 2 girls. Carlton was down because he had just been rejected from a male lady, and it was all Carlton's fault, that idiot. That basically he Carlton's just like, I'm not gonna feel good about it. I just want to have a bad time. Will promises him it'll be a bad time, so they go on the date. They're they just finished talking, and the girl is feeling Carlton. She's really down to go get raw like Monday nights with Carlton, and she's like having this really sexy way of telling him like, hey, I have some ice cream. I can give you this nice chocolate. And Carlton ruins it by saying, I'm a tutti frutti man myself. And but I mean, hopefully all of our listeners know this scene from the heart. I'm just explaining it to possible new fans we may be getting from this. So if you haven't seen Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, do your life a favor and watch it.
Watch
I
it.
I promise you, it doesn't get any better than the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Even if you did not grow up in the 90s, it's just a fantastic show. It's hilarious. It just relates to issues going on in the 90s that can relate to today. So guys, check it out, okay?
All right,
Yeah.
Carlos.
Okay, Ryan.
What's real quick? What's the one show that you'll recommend to anybody who's listening, other than the Fresh Prince from the '90s?
Oh boy, that's a tough one, man. There's so many good 90s shows though. But
Too many.
Too many.
Just pick one last one, because I got one in mind, and this is how we're gonna end it off, or almost end it.
Okay. Geez. It would have to be. Oh man, if I had to recommend one show, I can't. I don't know why I'm thinking about this. I still laughed about it. I watched an episode recently. I still laugh. It would have to be Disney's Recess.
What?
Yeah, dude,
That's
I
pretty
love
sick.
that show.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
you know
great,
what?
yeah.
I don't know if I only watched the one episode. And I laughed from it, but it was that one. If Disney's Recess, the El Diablo episode, the dodgeball one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
I
was
kind
a
of remember.
funny episode. I don't know. I watched it like a few months ago, and I was just like, oh my god, this is hilarious. This is still very funny. But yeah, Disney Plus it up, guys. Disney Recess, quality, good times.
I think the last thing I would probably recommend
go for it
is Seinfeld.
Ooh.
I think that Seinfeld, not a lot of people appreciate it, and it's probably the most, well, I don't know, a lot of people like that they even aired that last episode in Times Square.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of people just standing, like thousands of people standing in Times Square just watching it.
But me being young, I never appreciated that for what it was until I got older. In my 20s, I started watching it. And shout out to Sherwin again in this episode. But Seinfeld happens to be the, I think, best television show ever made. That's for me.
And you can dispute it, but it's definitely in the conversation, 100%. They can definitely be, like, you can definitely, it's easily top 5 greatest shows of all time in television history.
Show about nothing.
Yeah. Seinfeld, man.
Okay, Carlos, man. Ending notes. What do you have to say about 90s television and being babysitting? If you want to relate it back to the title.
90s era was a great time. If you in terms of the title of the episode, the Golden Age Babysitter, the 90s is where we were just glued to the TV because we did not have social media. There was no, we were, if you could not go outside a lot as a kid, you were at the TV, watching it. And, in terms of the babysitting aspect, you could sit there all day and not do anything, and your parents would have nothing to worry about. They can leave you by your damn self. But if your actual parents did do that to you as a kid, I don't know if it's too late now, but child services is one phone call away. So please get on that. Just the Golden Age Babysitter, man. I wouldn't take back anything from it. I loved watching TV as a kid in the 90s, and it was just fantastic. There's nothing like it. There really isn't. It just I loved every minute of it.
I love it.
What about you, man? What is your takeaway from the 90s?
Me and Carlos were going back and forth about the title of this episode. We're calling it, the babysitter, the Golden Age Babysitter. Just to give you a little bit more information about me, I didn't have my dad there. He was never there, kind of thing. So my mom was always working, and then with an older brother in high school, him being out all the time and like chilling with his boys, like, me being young, it's like I remember those days when I was like, 9, 8, sitting in front of television because no one else was home, and that was like, you just sit in your room or something like that, or just do one thing and don't cause no trouble or nothing like that. So the television was the overview, it was the babysitting, the leader, or the person that taught you these things, while your mom was out there grinding to be able to kind of come home and make you dinner, kind of thing. So it's like, I give a big respect to television and the writers during that time. I think that it's not said enough, but television was a big part of the childhood, and I think that, it deserves to be recognized. Definitely.
And 90s wrestling was fantastic. We didn't get in. We didn't get into it today, but I promise you, world, what we will. There is no. Make no mistake about it. That'll probably be our funniest episode today. Mark my words. When we do it, watch yourself.
Okay, so before we end, hit us up on Gmail, send us an email, hit us up on Instagram. Our Instagram is the blank 416.
Yes, sir.
Hit us up. We hit you every Thursday with the podcast. Yeah, reach out to us, man. Tell us about any kind of 90s shows that we maybe missed, anything that maybe you learned, your experiences in relation to growing up with the television, kind of thing. Maybe some kids didn't even have a television, we were lucky enough to have one. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So it's, hit us up with any of your stories, hit us up on Gmail or hit us up at the blank 416, just DM us. We can go from there.
Yes, sir.
So this is Ryan.
And this is Carlos.
And you're listening to The Blank.
Fill it in.